r/ask Reddit. What's the stupidest thing you've seen a grown-ass adult get angry over? One time a lady asked if she could skip me in line and I said sorry but I'm on lunch and need to get back. She turned to the person behind her and started saying, look at this ducking kid. Won't let me cut him in line because he thinks he's more important than I am. Dot. Right. I'm sure you have places to be, lady. What a prime situation to fart. At the gym and this guy was rotating between 3 machines. 2 of them were side by side and the third was a good 30 feet across the room. A single cycle took at least 20 minutes. I was eyeing one of his machines whilst I squatted. Finally I had nothing else to use so I asked him if he was done. He looked up from his book, Tom Clancy, and said, I'm using that. Okay, wait your turn. Before I can even think to respond, a huge dude asks him if he could work in. The guy immediately smiles and goes, oh sure thing my dude, and the big guy gestures for me to use the machine I asked for and left. Dude looked so pissed. I kept thinking he would lean over and hit me with his book. Most huge dudes at the gym are awesome like that in my experience. Expired coupons that weren't redeemable because we no longer had the product. Sure you had the product, you were just hiding it in the back. Ah yes, the fabled back room to Narnia or some shit. Like how big do they think the back room is? Yes lady, we keep all of our merchandise in the back so we won't accidentally sell it. Not having a specific toy, Hatchimals, in stock at the store I work at on Christmas Eve in 2017. We got those duckers in almost every day, and they sold out within a couple of hours of being opened without fail. This bitch was having a full-on hissy fit because we ruined her daughter's Christmas. No, Tracy, you ruined her Christmas. It's not our fault we don't have any in stock at 5:30 PM the day before Christmas, you ducking space cadet. Ugh, this is the ducking worst. Do people really have this little awareness of the world? I was about to snap this holiday season at the number of people who were shocked we didn't have certain things in stock on Christmas Eve. A longtime parishioner made a scene before the morning service when she spotted a family sitting in her pew. As I noted some time ago, she insisted that the family move or that she leave the church and take her substantial pledge with her. To their credit, the family, newcomers to the church, didn't move and the woman left in a huff, much like a child having a tantrum. What a Christian-like way to welcome newcomers to the church. My dad is an angry dude. He's been to court-ordered anger management a few times, has been kicked out of places a lot of times, so there are way too many instances to list. I'll tell a couple though. Once we were out to eat, our waitress looked at my baby sister and made a comment about how cute she is. Dad flips the duck out, started screaming about how he didn't say she could look at his baby. We were asked to leave. Another one that sticks out is on Christmas. My parents are divorced and the custody order said we had to go back to my mom's house at a certain time. That time rolled around. We reminded our dad and he starts yelling about how we're dumb dunce. Fun times growing up. My grown-ass cousin got angry at her 5-year-old niece for liking unicorns because she, adult cousin, liked them first. My nephew is a gymnast and he is very skilled. I was at one of his compilations award ceremonies to watch his receive a medal and saw mother red face screaming from the crowd at me nephew saying he has won too many times. You should be kicked out to give the other kids a chance. She then went on to scream and sweat till she was escorted out by security. I was later told by me nephew that her son came up to him not long after and apologized for his mum's behavior. I feel bad for both of the boys, especially the one with the psycho mother. You know she's thrown enough fits for him to immediately apologize for her. I worked at an auto parts store for a while. We'd get middle-aged dudes who'd get mad at us for not looking for parts that don't exist for their cars, or for simply asking them to clarify what they're working on. It's incredibly disheartening to see a grown-ass man throw a hissy fit all because he doesn't know what kind of car he has. I wouldn't give him a free refill on his popcorn because we'd closed the stand and thrown it all away already. The security guard had to intervene at one point because he thought the guy was actually going to hit me. The large chain movie theater I worked at required us to put the end of day popcorn in garbage bags then throw it back into the machine the next morning. The crazy old ladies that showed up at 10 AM swore that the fresh stuff was best. Had a boss who took a trip to the college football championship game. His tickets were like $1,500 each. When he got back we asked him how his trip went. In a high-pitched whine he said everything sucked because his nachos were cold. Can you imagine how much life must suck for someone like that? I mean, if nachos are able to completely ruin an expensive trip like that, it must be impossible to find anything that matches his standards for having a good time. My mom got so mad she was red in the face. It was about biscuits at a restaurant not being perfect. When I was younger I realized that I couldn't recall a single dining out experience with my mother where she didn't complain about at least one thing associated with the meal. I've been tracking it now for over 2 decades. I still cannot recall a single time she hasn't complained. She never makes a huge scene, but she has been rude to the wait staff a number of times and has sent food back many times. I can't imagine how much spit she has eaten in her life. Went with some friends to NYC in the first couple of weeks of December to do Christmas things in the city. One of those things was to go to FAO Schwartz, but because there were so many other people trying to do the same thing we had to wait in line. It was a 50-minute wait in line and we were queued up. Line wrapped around the block and in that time we got to yuck it up with the people in line with us. I turned around to say something to friends, then turned back around to move forward and noticed 2 strange women ahead of me that were not in line a moment before. I turned back around to give my friends "Are you seeing this shit?" look at the women that cut when a guy with a stroller tried to brush past me. I stopped him dead in his tracks by standing in front of the stroller. I told him that the back of the line was down the block and about a 40-minute wait from our current spot. He just looked at me like I was the a-hole and said thanks for the information, but I am trying to get to the rest of my group, while nodding to the women that cut the line when I wasn't looking. The people ahead of us that we had been joking with heard the commotion that I was making and started in on the women that cut the line. The guy was looking angrier and angrier as he kept trying to get past me, and finally the line as a whole managed to get the line cutters to shove off. As the group of line cutters were leaving, the guy looked back and shot me some colorful comments about the quality of my character and left. Yeah, I don't care that you are upset that I wouldn't let you. Your infant and 2 women in tow cut the line. A guy with his kids inside a McDonald's, which was inside a Walmart. He brought his order back to the counter and asked the pregnant cashier, who doesn't get paid enough to deal with this shit, what he ordered. His attitude started out calm enough, but anybody who has worked food service long enough could tell he was going to be one of those customers that just blows up in a rage after they've made their point. He explained that he had ordered a different sandwich and she replied that no, he ordered what they had given him. He was shouting and swearing. A manager got involved and told him they would just give him the money back. So he took his money back, aggressively of course, and said to his kids in a loud and self-righteous tone, "Come on, kids, let's go to a real McDonald's." Bro needed to get over himself. My office wore March of Dimes shirts during the month of November. We weren't asking for donations or anything. We were just wearing the shirts. One man started complaining as soon as he saw them, saying that it's ridiculous how much people donate to children's cancer research when so many more adults have cancer. He continued being loud about it and even started engaging other customers. March of Dimes not a charity for childhood cancer research, but for babies born prematurely. Not only did he look like an idiot, he also looked like an ass. A lot of the movie theaters in my area have converted to a choose a seat when purchasing a ticket model. Guy was trying to buy tickets with his daughter and having an absolute fit because there weren't many good seats left for that time slot, and that this process doesn't allow for spontaneity anymore. He's not wrong about that, but he was raging at the poor high school kid just doing her job. This one time a 72-year-old man threw a temper tantrum and shut the government down for 2 weeks and counting when people refused to cave to his demands to shell out $5 billion to build a pointless vanity wall. This was after telling everyone that Mexico was going to pay for it despite having no arrangement for that to be the case and Mexico telling him to duck off. Now he's holding the government hostage and threatening to declare it a state of emergency if American taxpayers don't cave to his demands and give him the $5 billion he couldn't get from Mexico. I'd say that's pretty stupid. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger, for the gold. Look, for me it's not about taking sides. It's not about whose party is better. It's about understanding that while everyone else is bickering, there are close to 1 million federal employees and their families who are suffering because of this idiotic and selfish behavior from our elected officials. You may not feel the pinch of this shutdown in your personal life right now, but if it continues on this way you soon will. Sooner than you think. If you are an American getting ready to file your taxes, it's going to hit you where it hurts if you are counting on a tax return of any kind anytime soon. If you enjoy this country's national parks, it has already impacted you. The longer this continues, the worse it will become for everyone. If you are one of the people who thinks this will only affect poor people, shame on you. Also, who do you think will pay for that in the end? Where do you think your tax money is going? One guy wanted a STEAM achievement for carrying a ducking garden gnome and left 4 dead too and started shouting and then crying when another guy wanted it too. This giant lady at a Shoppers Drug Mart was violently shaking her double stroller with 2 toddlers in it, freaking out about losing her $5 bill. Where's my $5 pesos bill? Oh my god. A complete ducking meltdown. I grabbed a 5 out of my wallet and was like, excuse me, did you drop this? Just so she'd stop shaking those poor babies. I was working for a print shop. One of our customers started crying because his envelopes weren't the right shade of off-white. He was a lawyer. Reading all these, I wonder how many are people who were legitimately at the end of their rope and this silly thing was just the last straw, and how many were just crazy jerks. About being told that spitting is a finable offense. I saw a woman lose her shit because Borders wouldn't accept her Barnes & Noble's gift card. During the yelling, it became clear that she was aware Barnes & Noble's had closed, but Borders was obligated to accept the gift card because it was Christmas and it would be unfair if her Barnes & Noble card was useless. Literally anything with traffic. In multiple places. Honking can basically mean you want to fight. My aunt had a guy get out of the car and start banging her car and screaming because she passed him. I've had people throw their car in park because I honked after realizing they wouldn't look up from their phone after sitting at a green light. Stop being a dong when someone calls you out for being a shit driver. I work as a barista at a coffee shop. One day this dude comes up and wants a filter coffee with almond milk at exactly 47 degrees. So I did exactly that. Few seconds later he loses his shit and complains that the drink is wrong. I asked him what was wrong with it and he replied, no, he basically shouted and insulted me, that the drink was 1mm too high. I was like, what? He asked if only retards work in the coffee shop, as it's very easy to see the line in the cup he brought with him. He said this has never happened to him. He feels insulted, so on and so forth. I tried to calm him down but he insisted I get the manager. My manager came and banned him from entering the store ever again. Not being allowed to watch porn on the computers in the children's section of the public library. The children's computers had a content filter on them to prevent this sort of thing from happening. However, this dude brought a flash drive with his favorite videos on it, and when the computers in the non-children's section were all in use, he decided that the best course of action was to go over to where there were a number of young kids working on homework and playing Minecraft. When a librarian told him he couldn't do that on those computers and asked him to leave, he flipped out, accused the librarian of being a pedophile and a rapist, and threatened to both sue and stab everyone who worked at the library. The cops were called and they ended up having to tase him to get him to leave. I used to work in a deli and one time this lady came up asking for cheese sliced thin stacked on top of each other. I thought to myself, how else would I stack it? But sliced the cheese and went to hand it to her. She lost her ever-loving mind because I didn't stack it right and made me restless the cheese thinner and way over stagger the slices. All while berating me and telling me how awful I was at my job and how she knew the owner and was going to tell him how awful I was and how bad my attitude was. Luckily my manager stood up for me when the owner came to talk to him. The dumb old beach made me cry first thing in the morning. Another time I had a guy freak out over the price of bologna. One type was on sale and one type wasn't, and he wanted the type that wasn't for the price of the one that was, and when I told him I couldn't do that and got my supervisor to back me up, he screamed at both of us and called us stupid uneducated women. So glad I don't work retail anymore. When I was a teenager we took a ship to go to the island on which our summer home is located. The trip usually takes 10 to 14 hours, and since we had a dog that had broken its cage in a past trip we didn't get a cabin, but instead booked airplane seats. So at some point the lady comes to me sitting on my booked and numbered seat and claims that it is her, to which I calmly respond with, no it isn't madam, we booked these, you must be mistaken. So she starts yelling at me that I stole her seat and I should respect her because she is older than me. At that point I just showed her my ticket. So here is the thing. Apparently another passenger with no seats booked was sitting on her booked seater, and instead of bothering him, she came to me and claimed those seats are hers. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.